Representative Beiswenger. He joins us now. Representative, good to see you, sir. I know this was just a print hearing this morning, but there always has to be a step one, and you accomplished that this morning. So welcome to the program.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that we haven't fixed this already. It's 2025. This COVID started in 2020. You would think with the huge Republican majorities we have and Republican governor and all that stuff, we would have fixed this already. The bill did pass the House a couple of years ago. The Senate didn't move on it, so it is the same bill again. So the House, I think, we're pretty optimistic there. It's pretty common sense. This really just says, government officials can't force people to wear a mask, when it comes to regards, vaccine or not vaccine, but viruses and infectious diseases, that kind of thing. Because we know, as even before this whole COVID stuff started, that's not what these masks are intended for. They don't work to stop it. They obviously didn't work at all. And the thing is, for like Representative Achilles, you kind of mentioned him there. If a government wants to tell us that we should wear a mask, they can still recommend it. They can say, hey, I think this would be a good idea for you. They just can't force it on us.
Right. And that's a great point. This is not about making recommendations or listening to experts when it comes to that, to that matter. But I walked through, I don't know if you were on when I was walking through some of the timeline where very early on, and maybe you forgot about this too, but there was a point where the CDC was teaching people how to make a mask out of a t-shirt and rubber bands. Right. So, I mean, what kind of experts are we expecting to bring into this committee, Representative Achilles? You don't have to bash him, or you can let me do that all day long. But but I just find it so irritating that we're still having this argument at this point, like you said, here in Idaho especially, but that there are folks out there who are still insisting, even though you're showing them, I mean, we have this report from Congress, and there's 10 pages in here on mask mandates and also the detriment to children. Can you speak a little bit about what you know about the effects that these masks had on the psyche and the health of children in schools? What have you heard?
It's totally unnatural. Actually, my wife's a board certified behavior analyst. We have a business working with kids in Indiana. She's spent her entire career, working with young children in developmental stages and so forth. And yeah, I mean, looking at those facial expressions is important for infants. It's important for kids. It's important for them to, to see the emotions on people's face, to study body language. I mean, there's important reasons to see that. And again, I would say it's not like the masks ever worked at all anyway. So it's not like, well, we're going to have a trade-off between the mask stopping these viruses versus the cost of, whatever you lose, by wearing them. There's like no benefit to this unless you're talking about like, spit. And I mean, that's what, if you remember early on in COVID, they asked some of these doctors in these hospitals, said, hey, can we wear these masks? Like, well, the masks are really just for surgical stuff, so you don't have spit coming out and landing on a patient, or blood or sweat or the sneezing, all those kinds of things. I mean, those virus particles are so small. It's like, the analogy is if you had a chain link fence trying to stop a piece of dust. I mean, there's just no way it's going to work at all. And that's why Dr. Fauci at one point said, well, maybe we need to consider wearing scuba gear, and put on the scuba goggles, because you got to protect your eyes too. Really, I mean, if you really want to go all out, the military, and my dad was retired Air Force, they have hazard, suits that you can wear against biological warfare. And it's a lot more than a paper mask. Let me assure you, it's more like a, stormtrooper outfit in Star Wars, compared to wearing a paper mask that, you would need to throw out just to keep, sanitary needs anyway. So yeah.
Great points. I just can't get over the fact that these people still think that these things work. And, and speaking of Fauci, is that the kind of expert that Representative Achilles would like to see? Somebody who needs a pardon, for all his great expertise. Okay. All right. Well, then let's get to the meat of the matter here, because, like you mentioned, this is we're hoping it gets through the Senate this time. The House, it shouldn't be a problem, especially because this is the same bill. Pretty much. I mean, it sounded like the language was the same bill as it was last year when it sailed through the House. So what have you had any conversations on the Senate side, or are you letting your Senate co-sponsor handle that? What is the sentiment you feel so far right now?
Well, Brian Lenny's the sponsor there. I mean, he's really handling the Senate side. This is my third week here, not even 2 weeks plus. This is my, 5, 10, 12 days here. So my contacts in the Senate are somewhat limited, I guess.
Fair
Keep
enough.
this in mind. I would say if you step back and look at the legislature here in Idaho, roughly half the legislature has been replaced in the last 2 election cycles for redistricting, defeat of incumbents, retirements, whatever. So that means half the people started here basically since the COVID stuff. And if you talk to the new members, stuff I'm talking to, largely they're motivated based on the COVID style issues, vaccine mandates, mask mandates, government shutdowns. That's what activated them to feel like they need to step up and make a difference, even in Idaho, and that's true for me too, of course.
Absolutely. That's the truth for a lot of us. And that's a great point you made, that between the last last cycle and this cycle, you said over half of the seats.
Roughly half, yeah.
Roughly half. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. And a lot of that is definitely motivated by COVID. Okay, folks. Well, we're going to keep tabs on this. I know it was just a print hearing. And we'll see when you probably don't have a date for the other hearing yet? A real hearing?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be scheduled, I'm sure. It could be available, I guess, in a couple of days. I know the state affairs calendar's, pretty heavy. But I'll work with Chairman Crean on getting this up for too long here. I think the committee was receptive to it, as you kind of probably got a vibe for.
Yeah, very good. Okay, folks. So pay attention to that, and we'll make sure to motivate folks to show up for testimony and send in letters and support. And of course, we have a petition. We had over 1,400 people sign our petition. There it is there, and so we've sent that to you and the co-sponsors as well, and we'll be delivering that over to the Senate as well to make sure that we get this through over the hump. Representative, thanks for joining us. Where can people follow you and keep tabs on your work and get in touch with you?
Well, if you go to the State Assembly website, there's my phone number and email listed there, the official one. You go to my campaign webpage, it's Idaho4Rob.com, Idaho4Rob.com. Or on Twitter, it's just my first, Rob Beiswenger, the X handle there. I'll cover it a little bit there. And there's a Facebook page there, Idaho for Rob Facebook page as well. So trying to cover it all, but I know there's a zillion ways to do it these days.
There is. Well, we're glad to have you on here. We'll make sure people know how to get in touch with you if they miss that. But thanks again, Rob. I appreciate it. Thank you, Representative.
Thanks, Matt. Nice to hear from you.
All right. Take care.